So, further discussion of this poem, Do Not Love Half Lovers by Khalil Gibran. He's advising us to basically commit, to live life to the fullest. And I agree with him. I can't see how you could possibly disagree with him. I mean, the only disagreement you could say is that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's not worth the effort. And good enough is good enough. And living an average life is fine. That's basically the argument. Or you could say, but look at you, Squadron. You're a hypocrite. You're saying do all this, but you're not living your best life. And to that, I say, well, you can't live your best life all the time. I did live my best life. I achieved lots of things that I strove for. And I strove. You know, I made great strides. Even achieving a black belt. I've achieved several black belts. These days, it seems, you can get your black belt if you just show up and do the bare minimum. But when I did it, that may have been possible. I don't remember, but it wasn't possible for me. I always did my best. I achieved almost everything I had set my mind to. Now, after having lost my wealth and finding myself in a tough position in life where I have to accept a job that doesn't really do it for me, I still go to work and do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. I don't particularly see this job as where I want to be in life, and it's very hard to deal with that psychologically, being in a position that you don't really want to be in, but seeing no way out. And it's a tough trap because I don't really have the energy to find something better. It's difficult to manage everything. I'm not making excuses. It's the reality. When you work all night and you work hard and then you try to recover during the day. I remember I used to go on job interviews after working all night, and then I'd go to a job interview and I'd be like a zombie, and interviewers would be asking me questions and I could hardly formulate answers. So obviously I didn't get the job. You know, if you're sick or if you have a fever, you can't really run a marathon. I did a judo tournament once. It was quite interesting in Korea. And I had this terrible fever. I was sick as a dog. I was so sick I shouldn't have been there, but I made a commitment to myself and I made a commitment to my teacher. And this particular tournament I'd prepared for months. So on the day of the tournament, I was a wreck. I was weak as a kitten. I was sweaty. I was in pain, but I still competed. And luckily, I got a bye to the second round. This was a provincial tournament. Now, a provincial tournament over there, that was a province that had millions of people. I don't know how many people were in the province, but the city I was training in had 3.5 million people. So the province probably had 5 million people. But of those 5 million people, there were way more judo practitioners in that province than in all of Canada, and they were at a higher level. So although this was a provincial tournament, it would have been a much tougher tournament than a national tournament in Canada, for instance, where judo is not as popular and there are far fewer judo participants. It's like hockey, the Canadian Ontario provincial hockey team versus the Australian national team. I mean, it's a joke. A high school, good high school team in Canada could probably beat the national team in Korea. Not well, yes, even in Korea, but I was thinking Australia. But this particular tournament, I got a bye to the second round. I was in the open division. I couldn't compete in my weight division because that's where they choose their national team, and the Olympic team, which is the national team, and they weren't going to have a foreigner on the team, so I could only compete in the open division. In the second round, I fought this guy outweighed me by twice, at least. He was twice my size. And it took all I had with my fever and my flu to beat this guy, but I beat him. And then I was so exhausted and so sick that I dropped out of the competition after that. But as I was leaving the building, the guy I had competed against, I heard someone yelling out, and I looked, and this guy was chasing me all through the building, and he ran up to me, and he bowed to me and shook my hand and told me what a great privilege and honor it was to compete with me. Now, he didn't speak English, and my Korean was pretty bad, but I was with Korean friends, and it was really a great moment we shared when he bowed to me and I bowed to him, and we shook hands. We may have hugged, I don't remember. But anyway, because he had totally underestimated me just by his size, and I quite handily, even in my extremely weakened and sick condition, I handily managed to defeat him in the competition. But it did exhaust me, and I just didn't have the wherewithal to continue. But I was happy about that because my father came and watched that competition, and he knew I was extremely ill. And he was very proud of me at that moment because, you know, I showed up. I committed to go there months in advance. I trained for it. I took it seriously. I showed up. And although I was in no shape to go there, I said, well, here I am. Let's do it. Now, if this was combat situation in a war or something, I wouldn't have had a choice. But if I did have a choice, I would have backed out because I shouldn't have been there. But still, that's neither here nor there. But the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, you're going to find yourself in tough times in life. And there are times that you're not going to be able to do your best. And there are times you're going to fail. It's the whole Christian idea of sin, where Jesus could walk the razor's edge. Jesus was the perfect human being. Whether you believe in Jesus or not doesn't matter. The idea of Jesus is the hero of heroes. Like, those who strive and do great things are saints, but these saints are looking to Jesus, the perfect being, as their model. So you can look to the saints as your hero and try to be like them, but they look to Jesus as their model. You can also look to Jesus as your model as well. But when you're walking the razor's edge and you're on the path, Jesus, naturally, as a perfect human, can stay on the path pretty much. I think there are times even Jesus faltered and, prayed to God. But those who sin or miss the mark, to sin means to miss the mark. You can think automatopoeia of an arrow or a bullet whizzing past your head. It goes, sin, sin, sin. You're missing the mark. You're not hitting the target. Or you're not walking the path. So if you veer off the path, then you try to get onto the path. And like, as I mentioned before in another video, it's like a Christmas tree. If you veer off far, then next time try to get a little closer and try to get a little closer and try to get a little closer. If you're doing your best, you're going to be closer and closer to the path as you proceed. And this is what trying to be the best version of yourself is. You look to heroes and try to be like them because that's what they're doing. They're trying to be the best version of themselves. And you're trying to be like the perfect human. You're trying to be like Jesus. And again, whether Jesus exists or not, the idea of the perfect human being, call him Jesus, call him whatever you wish, that's what you're striving for. The perfect version of yourself and the perfect version of a human being. And we're not perfect. We're going to sin. We're going to veer off the path. We're going to need to get off the path and take a developmental detour and learn new skills and acquire new abilities and work on things to get back on the path so that we're closer and closer. But we're not going to always succeed. And sometimes you fall off the path altogether. I mean, life is short and there's only so much you can do. Life is short, art is long. That's what this means. It means you have to do it now. It takes a lot of training and a lot of effort and a lot to master an art. But you have to do it. That's the road to mastery. And it's a long road. But we always try. We always try our best. We don't love half lovers. We don't live a half a life in order to do this. And I'm at my age now, I may never get back to where I was. All the groundwork I put in is not going to pay off the way I planned. But still, at my age, I have a fit body. I have a good mind. Some may disagree, but you know, I have intelligence. I've studied, I've cultivated, I've weeded my garden. I've made myself do the work for exercise and things like that. My savings are pretty much gone. My wealth is gone. I probably can't recover there. But I still have happy memories. I still have my black belts. I still have the house I live in. I still have the achievements I was able to do. And, eventually we all are going to fall apart. That's life. We're mortal beings. We all have feet of clay, so to speak. You know, we're all going to get old and we're all going to get ill and we're all going to die. I mean, there's people out there hoping that most of this is going to be solved with the singularity and with technology and science and medicine. But who knows? I mean, there may be a nuclear war in a month. We can't predict these things, or we might be driven back to the Stone Age, or there may be a major extinction event of a meteorite or something. A comet hits the planet. We don't know, but we still have to try our best. And that doesn't make you a hypocrite. If there's things outside of your ability to stay on the path, a debilitating disease or a terrible accident or a terrible mistake you can't recover from, whether it's your fault or somebody else's or a combination of all of the above, that doesn't mean why try, because life is hard and so many variables are outside of our control, so why not just give up? Well, this defeatist attitude is terrible because even if you have a limited time on this planet or if you have limited ability to be happy, at least you will have that and you'll have the satisfaction that you've tried your best and you've done your best. And sometimes you can do your best and you're just not going to be fortunate. You're not going to be lucky. And some people are lucky doing nothing. Other people do everything right and are unlucky, and everybody else falls in between. But you still have to follow the guidance of people like me and Khalil Gibran telling you, the life worth living is the life where you are present and you do your best and you envision a better version of yourself and you avoid things you're not supposed to do, and you do what you're supposed to do. Now, does this mean you should never indulge? No. All things in moderation is usually fine. And once in a while, you can indulge. But, earn these things. What I used to do with my daughter would be, if you study this for 26 minutes, then you earn an hour of TV, or practice this for 15 minutes and you can earn an hour of TV, or go and do a boxing routine and then you earn an hour of TV, or do two of these things and earn an hour, or earn watching a movie. If you challenge yourself this way and do what needs to be done and then reward yourself, this is, the way to do it. And once in a while, if there's a party or something, that's fine. But if all you do is party and eat junk food and relax and take it easy, you're not going to enjoy that, and you're not going to be a very good version of yourself. Anyway, that's more discussion on this topic. It's getting long again. Who loves your baby? Me. Till next time, remember, you're somebody's favorite person out there, probably me. Love you. Goodbye.